Hello everyone, it's Jenifer Miller, a Bella May Rain Jewelry Company for Jesse James Beads, and we're going to be putting together a pair of earrings using some of the beads and components from the Modern Bohemian Magical Mystery Bead Box for May 2024. What are we going to be using? We're going to be using some of these gorgeous little metal flowers, some little spacer beads, and some tube beads, spacer beads, and a rondelle. And we're going to hold them all together using some 20 gauge, this is German style wire in silver, and I have a flat head pin also from Beadalon in silver. I did grab a pair of ear wires from my stash to use. To make these earrings, you're going to need your metal flower. You're only going to need one of those spacers, but you're going to need the tube bead, and the tube bead and the flower came from the Hello Sunshine bead strand. This one here came from the Adventure Awaits bead strand. This chunkier rondelle came from the Modern Bohemian bead mix, and you're going to need two of the little small kind of cloudy beads, and this is from the Free Spirit bead mix. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get our head pin. We're going to add one of the small beads so that we can fit our flower bead onto our head pin. And then add your flower bead, and then add another small bead up on the top so that we can make our simple loop. And we're just going to kind of move things, scooch things around a little bit, just like that. I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers, and I am going to just bend over my wire to a 90-degree angle, and then come in and give it a little bit of a trim so that we can make our simple loop. And that might be just a little bit much because I think I used a pretty small loop on the other side. So I'm going to give it just a little bit more of a trim. And going to bring this over and roll to make ourselves a little bit of a loop. And just make sure we have it nice and tidy. Then we're going to come in with our 20 gauge wire, and this is probably a good maybe 3 inches. And on this one here, I just made a good size loop so that my bead will sit nicely on top of there. And you want to make sure you have a good flush cut. So I'm going to just give it a little bit of a flush cut there. And then going to kind of create like an eye pin. So if you have an eye pin, you can go ahead and use that. But I am going to make my own using the wire. Make sure that's nice and straight. It's not very straight. So I'm going to straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Then I'm going to open up. It's just easier to open up the loop and add our component while we don't have the bead to get in the way. Okay. And now we have our flower. What we're going to do is we're going to thread on our cylinder bead, and I chose to have the dark piece down because I felt like I could break up the white with that spacer and then add our chunky rondelle. Isn't that pretty? Love it. Okay, so down here at the bottom, I have the loop going this way. Well, I want the loop up here to go this way so that I can add my ear wire. Be sure just to take a look at your ear wire and see which way your ear wire is looped. I'm going to come down just a little bit off of the tip of my chain nose pliers, give it a 90-degree angle bend, and I'm going to come in about so on my round nose pliers. Going to form that over the top barrel, hold on to that, rotate my wrist, and I'm going to take the tail piece and just push it to the back, and then rotate my wrist until I have a nice lollipop. Then I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers and just put that over the loop there and lock it in place. If you have a long enough strand or tail there, you can use your fingers. I am going to use my second pair of chain nose pliers here and give 3 wraps around so that we have a nice tight finish. Come in with my cutters, give it a little bit of a trim, and then there's just a little bit of the tail hanging out there. And so I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers and my bent chain nose pliers and just tuck in that tail oh so swiftly. And now let's turn this around to where the front is the front. Open up our ear wires. Add our earring. Close it up. And there we have our pair of earrings. Here are our earrings using beads and components from the Modern Bohemian Magical Mystery Bead Box from Jessie James Beads for May.